Hoy nos une un mensaje,
Today, we have a
hoy nos
message
une un mensaje que
that
resume el
joins
desafío
us
y la
and
oportunidad de
summarizes the
nuestros
challenge and
tiempos:
the opportunity of our
innovación,
times:
confianza y
innovation,
sostenibilidad,
trust, and
el poder de la
sustainability,
acreditación.
the power of
En un mundo que
accreditation.
cambia a
In a
gran
world that
velocidad, donde la
changes
tecnología
in
transforma
high speed, where
industrias, las
technology
cadenas de
transforms
suministros se vuelven
industries,
más
supply
complejas
chains become
y
more
los retos
complex,
sociales y
and
ambientales exigen respuestas
challenges
responsables. La
need a
acreditación se ha
sustainable and
construido como
responsible
un puente
responses.
entre la evidencia
Accreditation
académica y la confianza
is
pública.
depends
El
on
encuentro de
trust
este año
from the
tiene un
public.
tinte especial para IAC,
This year's
pues se
meeting has a
conmemora el también
special
30 años
characteristic.
de
We
esta
are
cooperación
commemorating
que
30
une a
years
las
of this
Américas.
cooperation that
Tres
joins the
décadas
Americas.
articulando
3 decades
capacidades,
articulating
promoviendo el
capabilities,
reconocimiento
promoting
mutuo y
mutual
fortaleciendo una
acknowledgement, and
infraestructura de
strengthening
calidad
an
que
infrastructure
permite
for
que los
quality that
resultados
allows
acreditados
results that
crucen
are
fronteras
accredited
con
to
credibilidad.
cross borders with
Gracias a
credibility.
todos por
Thanks to
conectarse a
everybody to
este
join
espacio de
this
diálogo
meeting,
regional.
this
Durante las
conversation
próximas
space,
2 horas
regional
compartiremos
space.
voces
In the following
expertas,
hours, we will
experiencias
hear from
institucionales
expert
y
voices,
reflexiones
institutional
estratégicas sobre el
experiences, and
papel de la
strategic reflections
acreditación
about
para innovar con
accreditation for
responsabilidad,
innovation with
confiar con
responsibility,
evidencia y
trusting with
avanzar hacia
evidence,
un
and making
futuro
progress
sostenible.
towards a sustainable future.
Antes de iniciar,
Before
compartimos algunas
beginning, we will
indicaciones
share some
generales.
general
Este seminario
instructions.
web
This
tendrá traducción
webinar will have
simultánea para
simultaneous
inglés y
translation
español,
between English
que
and
lo pueden
Spanish,
activar en el
and you can
menú de inserción
activate
de
it
la
in the
aplicación de Zoom.
menu in the
Los
toolbar in
participantes
Zoom,
también podrán
and the
compartir sus
participants
comentarios
can
o
share their
enviar sus
comments or
consultas a
send
través
your
del
questions
módulo
through the
habilitado de preguntas
Q&A
y respuestas que
module
también
in
está
Zoom,
en el
which
menú
is
inferior
on
de Zoom.
the toolbar on the bottom side of
Bienvenidos
your screen.
nuevamente todos.
Welcome, everybody.
Para iniciar esta jornada,
To begin with
invitamos
this
a Andrea
activity, we
Melo,
will invite
presidenta
Andrea
de la
Melo,
Cooperación
Chair of
Interamericana de
the Cooperation of
Acreditación,
IAAC,
IAAC, quien dará las
who
palabras de
will
bienvenida.
give us some
Adelante,
welcome
Andrea.
words.
Muchas
The floor is
gracias,
yours, Andrea.
Verónica.
Thank you,
Muy buenos
Veronica.
días, muy buenas
Good morning,
tardes,
good
donde quiere
afternoon,
que
wherever you
estés.
are.
Es un gran honor darles la
It's an
bienvenida a
honor
este
to
evento
welcome
virtual
you to this
organizado en el
virtual
marco del Día
event
Mundial de la
organized for
Acreditación,
the World
una
Accreditation
fecha
Day,
que nos
a
invita a
date that
reflexionar sobre
invites
el
us to
valor de la
reflect
acreditación
on
para
the
nuestras sociedades,
value of
nuestras
accreditation for our
economías y
society, our
nuestro
economies,
futuro
and our
común.
future,
Como bien dijo
our
Verónica,
common
este
future.
año en
As Veronica
especial
said,
IAC
this
celebra
year
sus 30
IAC is
años,
celebrating 30
30 años
years
de
of
muchos
existence, 30
éxitos
years of many
y en
successes.
este momento
And
celebramos
at
el
this
Día
point in
Mundial
time,
de la
we celebrate
Acreditación
the
con el tema
World Accreditation,
Innovación,
the Accreditation
Confianza y
Day with the topic of
Sostenibilidad, el
innovation,
poder
trust,
de la acreditación.
sustainability, the power of
Un saludo
accreditation.
cordialmente a todos los
I would like
organismos
to
de
welcome
acreditación,
all the
miembros de
accreditation
IAC,
bodies that are
a
present
los
here,
organismos de
the
evaluación de la
members of IAC,
conformidad,
the
a los
conformity assessment
reguladores, al
bodies, the
sector
regulators,
productivo,
the productive
nuestros socios
sector,
regionales e
our regional partners
internacionales,
and international
nuestros
partners,
invitados
our special
especiales para
guests
ponencias en este
for
momento y a todas
presentations,
las personas
and
que hoy
all
nos
persons who
acompañan
are
desde
here
distintos
today
países
from
de las
different
Américas y
countries,
más
from the
allá.
Americas and
El
beyond.
tema de este año es
The topic for this year
desempeño que
is the
desempeñamos. La
strategic role
acreditación,
that
además de una
accreditation has,
herramienta
besides
técnica,
being a
también
technical
es una
tool.
base de
It's
confianza
a
para que los
trust
productos,
basis
servicios,
for products,
procesos y
services,
sistemas
processes, and
respondan a
systems
las
respond
necesidades de una
to the
sociedad
needs
cada
of a
vez más
society
exigente,
which is
dinámica y
more
conectada.
demanding and dynamic
En
and
un mundo
connected
marcado por
each
transformaciones
year. In
tecnológicas,
a world
desafíos
marked by
ambientales y
technological
nuevas demandas del
transformation, environmental
mercado, la
challenges, and new demands
acreditación
from the market,
contribuye
accreditation
a que la
contributes
innovación avance con
to
seguridad,
innovation
credibilidad
and
y
with
responsabilidad.
credibility and
También
responsibility
fortalece
and
la
progress. It's
sostenibilidad
also
al apoyar
strengthens
decisiones
the
basadas en evidencia,
credibility,
competencia técnica
supporting
e
decisions with evidence and
imparcialidad.
technical
Para
competence and
IAC,
impartiality.
esta
For
conmemoración tiene un
IAC, this
significado muy
commemoration has
especial.
a special
Como
meaning.
cooperación regional,
As a
nuestro
regional
compromiso es
cooperation,
seguir
our
promoviendo la
commitment is to
confianza
continue
entre los
promoting
países,
trusts
fortaleciendo
among
las
countries,
capacidades de
strengthening the
nuestros miembros
capabilities of
y
our
contribuyendo
members,
al
and
reconocimiento
contributing with the
internacional de
acknowledgement
los
at the
resultados de
international level
evaluación de
of
la
the
conformidad
results
en
of
las
conformity
Américas.
assessment in the
Este evento
Americas.
es una
This
oportunidad
event
para
is an
compartir
opportunity to
experiencias,
share
ampliar el
experiences
diálogo
to widen the conversation and reaffirm that accreditation is an essential instrument for sustainable development, competitiveness, and the person's protection. I would like to thank everybody's presence, and I hope that we have a productive and inspiring meeting, an enriching meeting. With a great deal of satisfaction, I inaugurate this event. It's the World Accreditation Day, and thank you for your attention.
Muchas gracias, Andrea, por
Thank
acompañarnos
you,
en esta
Andrea.
apertura
And now
conmemorativa.
for this
Pedimos también que se
commemorative
dirija a nosotros
beginning,
a
we
Warren
will
Merkel,
hear some words from
vicepresidente de
Warren
la
Merkel,
Cooperación
Vice
Interamericana de
Chair of the
Acreditación.
IAAC.
Adelante, por favor.
The floor is yours.
Warren, ¿está con nosotros, Warren?
Warren, are you here with us?
Having technical difficulties.
Ok, buen día,
Again,
adelante.
yes, thank you. I look forward to a very informative webinar as always. I look at the number of participants and realize how important it is for us in the Americas to have the benefit of stakeholders, users of accreditation, and all of those that make accreditation through the Americas possible. Trust is at the core of everything we do. Working together across the region, we are building trust that benefits our businesses, benefits our citizens, and creates better markets for the world. I really am excited to see the following presentations and in the panel that I will be on next later in the webinar. And again, thank you all for your participation. This is critical for us to ensure that we both appreciate what we have built and look forward to continued success.
Agradecemos a Andrea Melo y a Warren
We would like to
Merkel por
thank
sus
Andrea
palabras de
Melo and Warren
bienvenida y
Merkel
por
for their
destacar
welcoming
la fuerza
words
de la
and for
cooperación en
highlighting
las
the strength of the
Américas.
cooperation in the Americas.
Continuamos.
We will
Y
continue
como
now,
ustedes saben, Global
and as you know,
ACI,
Global
que son sus siglas
ACI
en inglés, ahora representa la articulación
now
global para
represent
fortalecer la cooperación
the global
internacional de
articulation for
acreditación.
strengthening the international
Continuamos con un
cooperation for
saludo
accreditation.
introductorio al
We
Día
will
Mundial de la
continue
Acreditación
with a
2026
salute
desde esta
for
perspectiva
the
mundial.
World
A través
Accreditation
de
Day
un
for this
video,
perspective through a
Ibrahim
video.
Houla, presidente de
Ibrahim
Global
Mahola,
Accreditation
Chair of
Cooperation
Global
Incorporated,
Accreditation Corporation
Global
Incorporated, Global
ACI,
ACI,
compartirá su mensaje.
will share a message with us.
Adelante con el video.
Buenos días, buenas tardes a todos.
Good
Muchas
morning,
gracias a
good
IAAC
afternoon,
por
everybody.
esta
I
invitación.
would like to thank
Dear
IAC for this
colleagues,
invitation.
distinguished guests, members of IAC community, it is a big pleasure to join you today for the World Accreditation Day under the theme Innovation, Trust, and Sustainability, the Power of Accreditation. I would like to thank IAC, its leadership, members, committees, and secretariat for organizing this important event and for their continued contribution to accreditation in the Americas and internationally. World Accreditation Day is an opportunity to remind our stakeholders that accreditation is not only technical activity, it is a foundation of confidence. It supports regulators, businesses, consumers, society by ensuring that conformity assessment bodies are competent, impartial, and reliable. This year's theme is very timely. We talk about innovation. Innovation is changing our economies and societies. We talk about artificial intelligence, digital tools, new technologies, and even new forms of conformity assessment that are creating opportunities, but also new risks. Accreditation has an important role in ensuring that innovation is supported by competence and confidence. We talk in this theme also about trust. Trust is also becoming more important than ever. Today, we see many claims about quality, safety, sustainability, cybersecurity, climate, and performance. But the key question is not only whether a claim exists, but whether it can be trusted. Accreditation helps answer this question by providing confidence in the bodies that test, inspect, certify, validate, and verify. And this theme this year also we talk about sustainability. Sustainability is also a major priority for governments, but also for industries and citizens. Conformity assessment, once accredited, supports credible sustainability claims. Accreditation supports the reliable environmental testing, greenhouse gas verification, circular economy initiatives, but also supply chains, responsible supply chains, and many other areas where confidence is essential. As Global Accreditation Cooperation Incorporated, Global ACI, we believe that the value of accreditation must continue to grow. Accreditation supports trade, but it also supports public policy, consumer protection. It helps with climate actions. It helps also the digital transformation initiatives and also achieving the sustainable development goals. Our task is to preserve the principles that make accreditation strong, competence and impartiality and confidentiality and consistency, but also transparency and as part of the international recognition. At the same time, we must adapt to new risks, new technologies, and new expectations from our societies. IAC has an important role in this journey. Through regional cooperation, its peer evaluation, its MRA, the capacity building, and also the promotion activities, IAC helps to ensure that accreditation remains relevant and trusted across Americas. Dear colleagues, the power of accreditation is its ability to transform technical competence into public confidence, connect standards with the practice, but also conformity assessment with trust and innovation. I congratulate IAC once again and wish you a successful and productive event. Muchas gracias a todos.
Agradecemos a
We would
Ibrahim
like to thank
por este mensaje que
Ibrahim
nos
Houla
conecta
for
a
this
una visión
message that
global de la
connects us to a
acreditación,
global
porque
mission,
la
a
confianza
vision of
técnica
accreditation, because
necesita
technical
hablar un idioma
competence or
común
trust
en todo el
needs
mundo
to speak a
y
common
ya es
language
una
in the whole
realidad.
world, and
Y
that is a
saludamos y
reality
le
already.
saludamos también ahora
And
que pudo
we
conectarse ahora con nosotros y nos
we
está
would like to
acompañando
welcome
mientras lo lee el obispo.
Ibrahim,
Muchas
who
gracias,
managed to
Ibrahim.
join the meeting, and he will remain in the meeting while he has
Entramos
the time.
ahora
Thank
a
you,
uno
Ibrahim,
de
for
los
being
temas
here. We will
centrales de
now
esta
go to
jornada.
one of the main topics of this
Fortalecimiento de la
activity,
gobernanza entre la
strengthening of
doble
governance
transición,
in
el
the
poder de la acreditación
twin
para la innovación
transition,
y la
the power of
sostenibilidad.
accreditation
Sin duda,
for
hoy la innovación digital y la
innovation, trust, and
transición sostenible
sustainability.
están
And
redefiniendo la
these
forma en que
are redefining
producimos,
the way
regulamos,
in which we produce,
registramos y
regulate,
confiamos.
certify, and trust.
Esta conferencia
This
estará a
conference
cargo de
will
Natalie Cohen,
be in charge
jefa
of
de la
Natalie
Unidad de
Cohen,
Gobernanza
Chief or Head
Regulatoria
of
para
the
los Retos
Regulatory
Globales
Policy for
de la
Global
División de
Challenges
Política
Unit
Regulatoria
of
de la
the
Dirección de
Regulatory
Gobernanza
Policy
Pública de
from the
la
governance, public
Organización
governance
para la
of
Cooperación y el Desarrollo Económico.
from the Organization for
Bienvenida, Natalie.
Cooperation and Economic
Adelante.
Development. Welcome, Natalie. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Veronica. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be here today. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, I hope you can all see that now. So I'm representing the OECD today from the Regulatory Policy Division. And as Veronica mentioned, I head up what's known as the Regulatory Governance for Global Challenges team, and we look specifically at regulatory policy challenges that are transboundary and cross-sectoral, such as the challenges posed by the digital and the green transformations. Today, I'm going to give you a brief overview of the OECD and the report we published last year on quality infrastructure, before going into the main topic on strengthening governance in the face of the twin transitions. For those of you who aren't that familiar with the OECD, I'll just give a quick overview of the organization. The OECD is a member-led organization with currently 38 members that supports governments in three main ways. Firstly, through data gathering and analysis to support policymaking. Secondly, through normative instruments or soft standards, if you will, and practical tools and guidance for policymakers. And the third way is through dedicated thematic or country support through technical projects. The OECD's recommendations are, in essence, normative instruments, and these build on 2 decades of work at the OECD of looking at regulatory policy. Our work on international regulatory cooperation and agile regulatory governance to harness innovation is particularly relevant for looking at the topic of quality infrastructure. Last year, we published a report called Reinforcing Regulatory Frameworks Through Standards, Measurements and Assurance, and this focused on the topic of quality infrastructure. And it was the result of a successful collaboration that we had with the British Standards Institutes, the International Metrology Organization, the German National Metrology Organization, and the OECD. In particular, our goal was to bring together policymakers and quality infrastructure practitioners to raise awareness and enable these two worlds to better integrate together. Because one thing we realized through the process of drafting this report is that there can be a real lack of knowledge and awareness between the two communities. And we structured this paper around three main topics. How does quality infrastructure support better regulation? How can it help us to tackle global challenges? And how can governments strengthen the governance of their quality infrastructure systems? The report provides a useful primer on both regulatory policy and quality infrastructure and explains the 5 pillars of what we refer to as QI: standards, conformity assessment, accreditation, metrology, and market surveillance. And the report provides many illustrative examples of this. It explains how quality infrastructure forms the backbone of smooth trade of products and services across borders, building consumer confidence and trust that the food we consume is safe to eat, or, for example, that our phone charging cables will work across borders. The report explains how these 5 pillars function together as a quality assurance system to build trust and market confidence. And the core premise is that by embedding standards and quality assurance in regulatory systems, governments can build more adaptive, efficient, and innovation-friendly regulatory environments. We looked at the interrelationship between quality infrastructure and regulations, highlighting how QI can play a role in informing each part of the policy cycle, such as considering alternatives to regulation during options appraisal, or considering alignment with international standards, which is part of the OECD's recommendation on international regulatory cooperation, or through feeding intelligence gained via market surveillance or laboratory testing back into policymakers' understanding of the market. Accreditation plays a key role by verifying the competence of organizations and laboratories performing tests and providing these certifications. It can also help reduce the need for direct regulatory oversight on low-risk activities by carrying out inspections. The main recommendations arising from this report were that first, governments need to optimize how they use their national QI systems. For example, by introducing an explicit high-level quality policy and more actively integrating consideration of quality infrastructure into the policymaking process. Second, governments should use the international cooperation inbuilt within QI systems internationally to build inclusive global governance, to build inclusive international consensus. And finally, governments need to build capacity in and modernize the QI system through digital innovation and business model innovation. And to support governments in reviewing their national QI governance, we developed a practical checklist tool that can be used to provide a country review assessment with recommendations for governance improvement. And we're interested in hearing from any quality infrastructure institutions or governments who would like to work with us to implement the checklist in their context to strengthen the governance of their systems. The checklist tool is intended to provide a key support to helping to do a strengths and weaknesses SWOT analysis of a QI system. And over time, we would like to work towards developing governance good practice principles for QI systems. So now moving on to the topic in question of the day, the governance that we need in face of the twin transitions. We are in an era of accelerating change, an increasingly dynamic and uncertain policy environment, yet many public institutions were designed for stability and predictability. Technological innovation, shifting economic dynamics, and evolving geopolitical conditions are transforming how societies create value, exchange information, and identify risk. Meanwhile, OECD governments face mounting spending pressures, which make restoring public finances difficult, while public debt levels are already elevated in many OECD economies, and spending pressures are rising in a number of areas such as defense, healthcare, and supporting an aging population. In addition to these fiscal difficulties, technological changes, environmental changes, sluggish growth, as well as the need to make significant productivity gains, require major policy changes. But the government levers for delivering these reforms are particularly constrained in a world where external and internal barriers to change are numerous. Even where governments have the resources and electoral mandates to enact reforms, low levels of trust in governments and the threats posed by a complex information environment mean that broad public support for change can be difficult to obtain in practice. As an illustration, the OECD's 2024 survey on drivers of trust in public institutions show that only 4 in 10 people, 41%, find it likely that the national government would adequately regulate new technologies such as artificial intelligence and digital applications and help businesses and citizens to use them responsibly, while more than 1/3 think it's unlikely. In our report on quality infrastructure, we considered the potential of QI to support policymakers in addressing global challenges such as the twin transitions. The international QI system already has scientific and data-led processes that support evidence-based decision-making and international consensus building on technical topics. While the governance landscape is complex and fragmented, QI can help bring consensus and support alignment across fragmented actors globally. QI can connect public sector and private sector action to support the implementation of regulatory frameworks. And international standards and mutual recognition facilitate interoperable global governance frameworks that can scale globally but be locally practical. QI provides the mechanisms through which international regulatory cooperation can take place in practice, complementing the high-level negotiations within government. And whether that's through international collaboration on metrology, harmonization on international standards, such as ISO's net zero or circular economy standards, or via trade agreements or mutual recognition agreements that accept accredited assurance across borders. Examples include mutual recognition of conformity assessments. For instance, as an Andean community member, Ecuador can recognize Colombian conformity assessment results as demonstrating compliance with standards created by Ecuador's own Institute for Standardization. And this collaboration is strong regionally. In the Americas, international agreements like the International Accreditation Forum's Multilateral Recognition Agreement and the IAAC MRA provide structured international frameworks ensuring that certificates, validation, and verification statements can be accepted across multiple markets without the need for recertification. This supports the tested once, accepted everywhere model, reducing frictions across borders for businesses by streamlining trade and eliminating duplication. The international cooperation mechanisms of accreditation bodies and other international QI bodies continue to offer significant value. This has long underpinned effective trade and economic growth. And in today's complex geopolitical setting, in which issues such as the regulation of AI are leading to diverse and fragmented policy responses, this system is a key asset. And when it comes to the regulatory governance of the digital transformation, quality infrastructure bodies are already playing a critical part. And it's through standards that principles-based normative instruments, such as the OECD's AI principles, are being translated into concrete action. Standards are providing a key part of the implementation toolkit on how to handle the governance of AI, from defining concepts and terminology to impact assessment, providing risk management frameworks, and the detail on how to undertake audits. Conformity assessment will play a key role in building trust in AI by supporting market access and pre-market verification of systems. And this is particularly evident in the EU's approach under the EU AI Act, where each member state must appoint a national notification body responsible for identifying suitable conformity assessment bodies. Therefore, accreditation is also critical to the digital transformation. By providing the accreditation for digital systems and services, and by supporting conformity assessment bodies as they adapt to the challenges and opportunities of digitalization. And in addition, they can provide support for innovation and regulatory experimentation by working with innovators to develop pilot accreditation schemes for newer technologies like AI or green hydrogen. They can help define what good looks like for new tech before formal laws are even written, providing a clear pathway for companies to demonstrate safety and gain market trust quickly. QI services such as accreditation are also supporting sustainability. For example, in the EU, the emissions trading scheme is underpinned by accreditation as a way to check that those providing verification services are robust and impartial. This utilizes the national accreditation bodies of Europe and their coordination regional body, European Accreditation. So these types of tools have a role to play in reinforcing transparency and accountability in the development of sustainable supply chains and in the fight against greenwashing. But now, what about the digitalization of QI itself? The world, as we know, is undergoing a structural transformation driven by digital technologies. These no longer operate at the margins of society. They structure how information is produced, processed, and acted upon. AI, digital platforms, global supply chains, and cross-border information flows offer significant opportunities for growth and social benefit, while also introducing new forms of complexity, risk, and instability. However, the QI system today operates on a business model designed for an analog world. As accountability mechanisms increasingly digitalize, standards are no longer simply static documents. Instead, they are beginning to function as digitized inputs, shared across supply chain systems, and in some cases, interacting directly with digital regulatory and assurance systems. This fundamentally changes how standards are being used, consumed, and valued, and it raises important questions about the long-term sustainability of current business models. Metrology organizations and testing laboratories are also embracing the digitalization, for example, through the transfer of test results. And conformity assessment bodies are embracing the digitization of faster process management, easier access and traceability, and enhanced data protection. As everyone has highlighted to date, the QI system is all about assuring quality to build trust. In accreditation, digitalization offers opportunities to build a system that is faster, safer, and more accurate. Digitization can help reduce human error, enhance consistency, and ensure that decisions are data-driven. And this is going to require accreditation organizations to promote a culture of innovation and experimentation, while acknowledging that digitalization is only ever a means to an end. It should result in more efficient, transparent, and accessible processes. And this can require a fundamental rethink of structures and processes, as opposed to falling into the trap of digitalizing what is already there. For accreditation organizations in particular, embedding digital tools and agile ways of working across organizations are being used to transform the customer journey. And examples of what this looks like in accreditation can be customer and assessment portals for enhanced information sharing across the assessment process, or digital accreditation platforms where customers can view their schedules and certificates, and from which they can share their accreditation digitally via secure APIs or downloadable PDFs with embedded QR codes. We need to adopt AI in ways that strengthen rather than compromise competence, impartiality, and trust within the accreditation process by setting out clear principles and guidance on the use of AI in accreditation. And importantly, this transition will not look the same everywhere. Levels of digitalization will vary by country, reflecting differences in capacity and resources. But ultimately, the core challenge is developing a clearer understanding of what the potential pathways to a digital future could and should take. And much will need to be learned through experimentation, testing, and iteration in partnership with industry and policymakers. And now I would like to move on to something that is contextually particularly important and relevant in the world of regulatory policy currently, and to which quality infrastructure can also contribute. Within government, increasing administrative complexity and a compliance-focused culture have also hindered timely and effective actions as well as reforms. And in this context, OEC governments and administrations are increasingly stuck, caught between growing demands for protection, consultation, and risk mitigation, and their hampered ability to act decisively in a fast-changing economic, societal, and technological landscape. In 2025, under the Simplifying for Success initiative, the OECD surveyed businesses and governments. The results showed widespread agreement by 72% of government officials and 90% of businesses that regulatory requirements are overly burdensome. Regulatory requirements topped businesses' challenges by a considerable margin, ahead of taxation, talent management, and geopolitical instability, and the problem is seen to be growing. Simplification is currently high on the agenda of many governments, with some already making far-reaching changes. Accreditation bodies can support these simplification efforts by promoting the use of international standards. And they can also help with cross-sectoral consistency by using a common language for competence. Accreditation bodies help regulators from different fields, for example, privacy, AI, and safety, to align their requirements, preventing companies from being pulled in different directions by overlapping mandates. They provide a centralized database of competent bodies, making it easier for businesses and consumers to find reliable partners without conducting their own exhaustive due diligence. While accreditation is often invisible to the end consumer, it functions as the connective tissue of the global economy. By standardizing how competence is measured, accreditation bodies allow complex systems to operate with significantly less friction. So the modern governance environment is undoubtedly complex, with policy challenges increasingly interconnected. However, this moment presents a real opportunity for QI organizations to understand their strengths and the gaps, pilot new pathways to digitalization, and to identify innovative ways to collaborate with market actors and policymakers in order to deliver more effectively for the interests of their national stakeholders. And I'm coming back at this point to the overarching recommendations from that OECD report to focus on governments leveraging the international cooperation within QI and on building capacity and modernizing the system. And to that end, I've included here at the end some ideas on areas for future work and future exploration. And the OECD is ready to act as a supportive delivery partner to help further this thinking. And what I've suggested here is on governance, applying the OECD checklist to identify and strengthen ways to strengthen governance through even an individual QI body setup or at a country level. We also think there's a gap in evaluating the economic impacts of QI services, and in particular, the impacts of aligning or not aligning with international standards and the impact of mutual recognition approaches. And we propose taking a deeper look into digitalization approaches within the QI system, identifying digitalization pathways. And finally, I mentioned the need to raise awareness within the policy community and the QI community. And on the back of our report, we are continuing to work on this with our partners. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to the rest of the discussions today.
Agradecemos a Natalie Cohen por esta reflexión estratégica que nos deja.
We would like to thank Natalie Cohen for this presentation, which gives us a key image. We need to have a set of rules and systems that are capable to respond to changes. Let's move on. And now we would like to move to the panel that we just prepared for you. Accreditation is not only in the lab or the certificate, it is presented towards more safer markets and more intelligent regulations and more trustworthy decisions. With this, we would like to open the next space. This is a panel fostering innovation and building trust, the role of accreditation. For this panel, we will have Warren Markle, the IAAC Vice Chair, as the moderator. He's with us today. And we will also have Kim Riffle from the PCN Latin America. We would like to welcome them. We also have Olga Pesca from the Andes uh, community, and then Robert Kanaki from the National Volunteer Accreditation Laboratory Accreditation Program from the NIST acting. He's the NIST acting chief from the US. We would like to invite you all to this dialogue because we will see how accreditation can be translated into trust. Go ahead, Warren. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all of the participants. I continue to watch the number grow and just am amazed at the recognition of the importance of accreditation and the willingness to listen to some of these very important presentations within the need to foster trust while building innovation. We are really lucky in this panel to have three perspectives from all sides of the issues facing us in accreditation today. Kim representing the private sector, Olga with the policymakers, and Rob as an accreditation body, as well as a little bit of metrology mixed in there. So I think we have all of the various stakeholders and perspectives that we need to really understand and dig in on how accreditation can foster innovation and build trust. I think the presentation from Natalie and the information from the OECD really set the stage well for this conversation. I've been involved in accreditation over the years for decades, and this is really, in my experience, one of the most critical and rapidly changing times throughout that period. We face real challenges, both in terms of the perception of public policy, as Natalie said toward the end, as well as the expectations that the systems that have been built and provided trust through the years are able to respond. And it's incumbent upon us in the accreditation community to continue to provide that trust. So what I'd like to do first is go to each of the panels and ask them for their perspectives on various points related to the theme of fostering innovation and building trust. Kim, I'll go to you first. In the private sector, companies operating in international markets face the challenge of demonstrating that their products and services meet global standards. How has accreditation helped Latin American businesses innovate and access new markets with credibility? And what barriers still remain to making full use of this tool, particularly as business and digital technologies change so rapidly? Kim, please, I'd love to hear your perspective.
Muchas gracias, Warren.
Thank you very much, Warren. And well, I would like to start by saying that I'm very happy to be invited to be here and to participate in this panel. This is a very important date for our community, the World Accreditation Day. So I am very grateful to IAAC for this opportunity, and my appreciation to you as our moderator and all the other panels, Olga and Robert. It is such a pleasure to share this conversation with you. So today, I speak from my experience as the CEO of PCN Latin America by supporting companies that need to demonstrate the compliance of technical requirements in different markets, but also I bring the perspective from ABRIC, which is the Brazilian Association for Quality Infrastructure. And in Brazil, they introduce most of the accreditation bodies in Brazil. And I also bring the perspective from one of the members of the IAAC stakeholders committees and the Global Accreditation Cooperation Incorporated. So, Warren, I think that on behalf of the private sector's perspective, accreditation offers something critical for international trade, which is trust, right? It can travel from one country to the other whenever one company, a Latin American company, has some trials in an accredited laboratory and they receive a certificate that was issued by an accredited organ body. is not only a technical document, right? With this document, when it was issued as part of the corresponding process and it has all of the international agreement backups as a recognition, it can turn into a real passport so they can access other markets. So I believe that is the purpose of these agreements that have been developed by IAF and IAC in the global ACI, so that the conformity assessment, if it was done properly, it can generate trust for others. So for Latin American companies, I would say it has a huge value. Many companies are innovators and they are technically very competent. However, if they want to enter a market where their brand or the technological capacity of the country of origin is not known enough, then in those cases, a report or a certificate of accreditation can help them transform or foster a trust and objective evidence. So it's only a matter of saying that a product is safe or that it complies with certain requirements. It's not only that, it is also about showing that through a competent and impartial body and a recognized body, they can say this. So that's why I believe accreditation not only facilitates trade, but it also strengthens innovation. A company will be more willing to invest in new technology when they know that there's a way, a trustworthy path to showcase their safety, their conformity and compliance. So, however, there are still barriers and important challenges. I would say that the first is the difference that many times we find between international accreditation certificates and effective acceptance on behalf of a regulatory authority. So when the accreditation bodies from two countries participate in the same international agreements, a national regulation may demand the trials or the certificates or the compliance in general to be done locally. So in practice, a company can have an accredited report and technically valid and still be forced to send some samples to the country of destination and then repeat part of the assessment. And that, without a doubt, generates costs and delays, and that will affect small and medium enterprises mainly. So a second barrier or a second challenge, I would say, I would call it the fragmentation of the regulation. By that, I mean accreditation will confirm the competence of those that evaluate. However, that does not make all of the requirements standardized for all of the countries, meaning the product may need to operate 50 hertz in one country and 60 hertz in the other, for example, or it can change the outlets, the requirements for labeling or energetic efficiency or cybersecurity or whatever, right? But these are just a couple of examples, but at the end, if they have an accredited result or not, that eliminates all of the differences between countries, between markets. And also, Warren, I would like to say that there is what I would call the cultural challenge, right? Many companies still consider trials and certificates as a cost that appears at the very end of the development of a product. But in reality, for technical requirements, it should be considered from the beginning. So whenever a company knows the standards, the regulations, and the markets previously, whenever they want to enter a new market, they can have the trial repeats and the designs, and they should consider the delays, as I said before, as well. So I think it is very important that there needs to be a relationship between the market, the industry, the providers, and the society in general. So I believe it is also important to say that it is important to expand the use of international standards and reduce local demands that are unnecessary, and also invest in accredited capabilities for new technologies, or emerging technologies. So I believe that definitely accreditation can get to its highest level whenever recognition between bodies is translated into effective acceptance on behalf of the authorities, the markets, and the users. So for Latin America, I would say this means less barriers, of course, more competitive companies, and better conditions for innovation. And for global economy, this means, well, for trust, I mean, trust will not, we won't need to construct trust from scratch whenever a product crosses any border or enters a new market. So I think that will be my main message. Once again, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I'm here if you need anything. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my friend. That's excellent insight and a lot to unpack there. There's really been a significant history of building that trust. And as you say, it's not a perfect system. And there are challenges both in terms of the regulatory issues as well as you said, cultural issues around understanding and communicating both the value of the conformity assessment system and accredited conformity assessment as a mechanism to provide that trust, but then also being able to be agile and address changing needs. That agility then has to have the trust in many cases of regulators. And so I think we're quite fortunate to have Olga here representing the policymaker perspective. So Olga, I'd like to turn to you and ask you, with regional integration depending on countries mutually recognizing each other's conformity assessment systems, how has accreditation contributed to building trust among Andean nations? And what role can it play in the sustainability and innovation agendas that governments are currently driving?
Muchas gracias, Warren. Un saludo
Thank
especial
you
para
very
todos
much,
los
Warren,
asistentes
and
y
a
para todos los
great
representantes de los organismos de
my regards
acreditación
to
de
all of
Un
the
agradecimiento
representatives
a
of
IAAC
the
por la
accreditation
invitación a
bodies.
participar en
I
este
wanted to thank
panel. Un
IAAC
saludo
for my
especial para
the
Kim
invitation
y
to
para Robert.
participate in this panel, and as
Bueno,
well
¿cómo ha
as
contribuido
greeting
la
Kim and Robert.
acreditación a
Well,
construir esa
how
confianza
has
en
the
los países de
accreditation
la región
contributed
andina?
to build the
¿Qué papel
trust in
puede
the
jugar
countries
en
of the
contexto de
Andine
agendas
region, and
nacionales
what
de
is the role
sostenibilidad
that
y
we can have
conocimiento
in
impulsan nuestros
sustainability and
gobiernos?
innovation that
Primero,
our governments
un rápido
promote?
contexto. La
Well,
comunidad
just a
andina
quick
está
context.
integrada
In
desde
our
hace
community,
57
we
años por
integrated
Bolivia,
this
Colombia, Ecuador y Perú.
57 years ago by Bolivia,
Eh,
Colombia, and Peru,
Constituye un bloque
and
regional de
it
libre
is
comercio,
a
un arancel
regional
para el
block of
intercambio de bienes entre
free
los cuatro
trade
países.
to have
Y como
assets between the four
soporte
countries,
técnico
and as
de
a
este
technical
proceso de
support for
integración,
this
la comunidad andina
integration
cuenta
process,
con
the
el Sistema
Andina
Andino de Calidad
community, we
que
have
reporta
the
el
quality
Instituto
Andine
Nacional de
system that
Calidad
is
de cada uno
supported
de los
by
cuatro
the
países,
quality systems of
articulado
each one of the
mediante una
countries,
red
that is
regional de
articulated
acreditación,
within the
certificación
Andines
técnica, normalización y homologación.
networks of
Este
that we have. This system has allowed us to build trust between the countries to facilitate that intra-regional trade, which is one of the objectives of the integration, and then contribute to the development of our productive systems by considering that more than 90% of our companies of the region are SMEs, and the Andino market, for many of them, means the very first exports experience. So even though this is a very common market with zero fees, to access this market, it means to comply, according to the type of product and country of destination, to all of the requirements of that country, each one of the four, and also requirements from the clients, and then comply with these specific requirements with regulations or standards from the private sector. So in that context, accreditation has meant a critical role to provide that technical basis that will sustain trade through competence and trust by either the trial services, showcase the compliance with those requirements. On regards of sustainability, well, the four countries have aligned the national policies with the Agenda 2030 and the SDG goals. And even though each one of them has provided the priority to different environments in Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru, provide an important basis in the conservation of biodiversity, climate change, social inclusion, and development of territories. And this opens space to consolidate an Andina agenda in sustainability with important bases such as a circular economy, sustainable production, energetic transition, and biodiversity management, climate change, water management, strengthening of sustainable commerce, value chains, and innovation. So for all of these topics, of course, we need standards, and within those standards, we need other associated services for the quality infrastructure, as they can be trials, certifications, inspections, and others. So that's where accreditation has a critical role in many aspects. First, by supporting implementation of these new regulations and technical standards associated to these issues, and then assuring competence of the bodies that verify that compliance of those standards or regulations linked to circular economy, water management, emission measurement, etc. So accreditation also has a critical role by creating trust in the declarations and of sustainability that are done for the products, processes, and services, by ensuring that the environmental and sustainability support the standard requirements and that are for them to be trustworthy for the benefit of communities, authorities, and users. So through the recognition of the results of the MLAs by reducing time, costs, and facilitating sustainable trade. So another value of accreditation in the sustainability efforts in the Andina community, it contributes to follow-up and support of the SDGs or Sustainable Development Goals, because they provide trustworthy data and results that provide help to the decision-making based in evidence. So accreditation also has other critical roles for the Andino community in innovation. For example, this still brings important challenges. We are still in the consolidation stage. We have an emphasis more on digital transformation, but we still have many challenges for closing technological gaps. And however, accreditation has a relevant role in these innovation systems when we back up or support new technologies by allowing them to be developed and on the technically recognized criteria request. Even if a product is so innovative, it has to be safe, it has to have quality, and innovation also represents a challenge for the development of our QI for the accreditation bodies, mainly because innovation requires agile evolution of the conformity systems so they can support the rhythm of its development and ensure that the new solutions will go to the market with trustability and sustainability requirements. At the Andino community, we have developed with our 4 accreditation bodies, we have created some regulations that allow us to establish criteria points. We harmonized them for assessors and technical experts of accreditation. So if any of the countries require them to have a technical competence that is only in one of the other countries, they can bring the expert and the evaluator with the harmonized criteria points so they can provide this service for example, innovation or the certification of a product. We've also developed some efforts on digital transformation so we can have available information rapidly and know the supply of products that maybe a company might need for a conformity assessment service, for example, to certify a product of an innovation. So accreditation for us is critical, both for the trust in the markets of the Andino community, as well as with the sustainability agendas, as well as for innovation. Thank you, Warren.
Thank you so much. So much really important perspective from a policy standpoint. And I think it blends well with a lot of what Kim was raising, with the fact that there are many situations where regulatory requirements may need to be different. And we need to understand those. But the fact that we can still have trust in the ability of the conformity assessment bodies and the accreditation bodies to respond in the same way that they have in the past is at least taking one of the variables out of the consideration for the government authorities. They know they can trust the system, and so then they can focus on their particular needs and challenges. And I think that's going to be increasingly challenging, as Natalie brought up earlier, in areas such as artificial intelligence and in the application of that technology across sectors where we've already had solutions in place, but the transformative nature of bringing artificial intelligence into things like sustainability or products in the market and their safety, there will be a need, I think, for a lot of regulatory harmonization. And because of that, the need for communication from the private sector, from the conformity assessment community, and the accreditation bodies to those policymakers, so that when they make those difficult decisions on whether to regulate and how to regulate, they are doing that from a position of knowledge about how the system works. Thank you for that insight. And that brings us to you, Rob. I'm leading into the question that I'd like to ask you. This is a celebration of World Accreditation Day. Many of us know what World Accreditation Day represents and what accreditation is, but we have over 500 people on this webinar. Not to put any pressure on you in terms of the number of people watching, but many of them may not be familiar exactly with what we do. So NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology in the United States, as the National Metrology Institute, and your program, the National Voluntary Laboratory Accreditation Program, NAVLAP, represent the technical foundation underpinning trust in laboratory and conformity assessment results. So for a business leader or academic who's on this webinar today and unfamiliar with how this infrastructure works, how would you explain why accreditation is that link between the science, technological innovation, and market trust? Rob, please.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Warren, and thank you for that great question. Yeah, so NAVLAP is the accreditation body that's part of our National Metrology Institute here in the United States, which is NIST. So the way that NIST fits into this and NAVLAP and other accreditation bodies help support the trust and the innovation is that at NIST we perform research that helps with new technologies and pre-standardization of different areas of test and technology. We have a standards coordination office that is here part of NIST, and Warren, you're very familiar with that. I used to work in the standards coordination office. And they help not only industry, but other governmental agencies and other organizations to support them in these research pre-standardization activities that help get these technologies, these tests, these measurements, and other areas ready for standardization. Even in the beginning, of course, AI is an area that we're very involved in now, and other critical emerging technologies, or CETs that we call them. So we have a whole group that just is dedicated to supporting people who are in that pre-standardization phase. It's in research development, and help disseminate our knowledge throughout industry, throughout other federal agencies and other partners across the world. We further then help educate people on standardization and how you go about developing standards for these new areas, and getting committees together and getting active in your standards development organizations that support your different industries, your different economies, and your different groups, right? And participate in those standards development, educate organizations on conformity assessment, right? And we worked with other regulatory agencies, governmental agencies that are looking to have increased confidence in the programs that they manage, food safety being a good example, right? For us, the Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, when they were looking at ways to help and increase the safety of our food and people's trust in the safety of their food, they reached out to NIST and other entities to say, how do we go about this? And how do we set up a conformity assessment model that really help ensure that the testing that goes behind the food to ensure that the food is safe, there are no microbiological contaminants, things of that nature. How do we make sure that those entities have the competency we're looking for? The public can understand that we've done this additional level of scrutiny and rely on this accreditation to help support our recognition and our processes to ensure that the food we eat here in the U.S. is safe, right? And NIST was involved in helping facilitate that whole process. Worked not only with NAVLAP being part of NIST, but other accreditation bodies in the U.S. relying on that international infrastructure that Global ACI helps provide, IAAC helps provide, to ensure that all the accreditation bodies that provide these accreditations to these labs and different entities are operating at a similar level, so that even you can have increasing confidence in the accreditation bodies and accreditation that we're providing to our entities. So that's a way that NIST, through NAVLAP, through NIST, through the Standards Coordination Office and other departments here doing research, helps really underpin it all, right? We're really connected and involved in all of this. And from the very beginning of the CETs, all through standardization, conformity assessment scheme, to the accreditation that helps then support the regulation, the recognition that the public can rely on and say, yes, okay, I can have increased confidence in the results that are coming through there. That I know my food is safe, my water is safe to drink, my car, computer, laptops, all of those things are going to have that increased confidence there. So yeah, that's just a little bit about NIST, how we go about supporting that, how the accreditation body fits into the whole process.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Rob. And as I'm listening to you speak, and I look at the background for today's webinar that we all have, and the examples of all of the different products and services and things that we take for granted in our daily lives. As Natalie said earlier, and Kim and Olga also emphasized, it's quality infrastructure that has worked for so long in providing that level of confidence and ensuring that we don't have to think about it. We just in the person that's not working in the quality infrastructure may not know what it is because it has been so effective. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's important for us on this World Accreditation Day to emphasize the successes that we have built through the years to have that trust in the private sector, as Kim said, with industry being able to rely upon conformity assessment bodies that have been accredited and demonstrated their competence, their impartiality, and consistency, that policymakers at the national or regional or global level have confidence in the quality infrastructure system and how accreditation bodies and metrology institutes within that system have the ability to provide ongoing trust. I think the challenge to all of us going forward, and maybe the message that I'll leave the panel with, is there are a lot of things changing, and we need to ensure that all of us together are having communication like this webinar today and the ongoing communication that we are fostering through IAAC and the global ACI to make sure that the decisions that are made and the way that we move forward with some of these critical and emerging technologies are going to end up in the same place that we are today, where we have inherent trust and are able to ensure the safety and ongoing security of all of our citizens and all of our countries. I really appreciate the insights from all three of you. This has been extremely enlightening to me, and I'm sure to the, where are we at now, 512 participants. Thank you very much to the panel, and I will give it back to Veronica.
Muchísimas gracias a Warren Merkel por esa
Thank you,
moderación en
Warren
este
Merkel, for
panel, a
moderating
todos
this
y cada
panel,
uno de los
and to
panelistas por
all the
ese intercambio
panelists
tan
for this
enriquecedor.
such
Hemos
an
visto que la
enriching discussion.
acreditación habilita
We
la
have seen
innovación
that
cuando existe
accreditation
solidez
enables innovation
stratégica,
when there's technical
cooperación
competence,
y visión de futuro.
cooperation, and a vision for the
Y
future.
ahora conectamos ese
Now
futuro con
we will
liderazgo,
connect that future with
especialmente
leadership,
el liderazgo de las
especially
mujeres en
with
la
women's
infraestructura de la
leadership in
calidad,
the
que
quality
se ha ido
infrastructure,
posicionando a lo
which has
largo de todos
been
estos años.
positioned in all these
Este
years.
espacio reconoce que la
This
confianza
space
y la mujer se
acknowledges that
fortalece cuando
trust is
más
also
voces,
strengthened when more
experiencias y
voices,
liderazgos
experiences,
participan en
and
la
leaderships
construcción de un
participate
sistema de
in
calidad
building
mundial.
a system for
Invitamos
world
nuevamente
quality.
a Andrea
We
Melo,
are
presidente
inviting
de la
Andrea
Comisión
Melo, the head
Interamericana de
of
Acreditación,
IAAC,
con su intervención
with her
titulada
intervention
Inspirando el futuro,
Inspiring the Future,
Confianza,
Trust,
Innovación y
Innovation, and
Mujeres
Women
Líderes.
Leaders.
Adelante, Andrea.
The floor is yours, Andrea.
Muchas gracias, Verónica, nuevamente.
Thank you, Veronica, once again.
Estamos muy contentas
We
con el
are
éxito de
very
este
happy with
evento.
the
Contamos con
success of
muchos
this
participantes en
event. We
este
have many
momento.
participants right now.
517 están
More than
conectados,
500 are
lo que
on this
demuestra la
meeting, which
importancia que
proves
tiene
the importance
esta
that
fecha.
this
Y por
date
ocasión de
has.
este tema, es un
And
honor nuevamente
talking
estar
about
hoy
this
al
topic,
frente de
it's an honor to
ustedes como
be here
presidenta
with
de
you
la
today
Comisión
as the chair of
Interamericana de
IAAC.
Acreditación, en un momento que va a
And
quedar en la
in the moments
memoria
that
de
will be
nuestra
left in
organización.
the
La
memories of
celebración de
our
la primera
organization, the
edición del
celebration of
Premio
the first
IAC
edition
a la
of
mujer
the
líder en
IAAC
evaluación de la
prize for
conformidad
the woman
acreditada en
female leader
América.
for accredited
Quiero
evaluation
comenzar
in the
con una
Americas. I would
pregunta
like to
sencilla.
begin with a
¿Qué
simple
sintió
question.
ustedes en lo que
What do
hicieron esta mañana
you
antes de llegar aquí?
feel? What did
El
you feel when you
agua con
did
la que se ducharon, el
what you
café
did
que
before
tomaron,
getting here, the
medicamento que
water that you
quizá
used for
alguien de
having a
su
shower, the
familia
coffee that you
necesitó,
drank,
el
the
vehículo o
medication
el
that
avión
somebody
que
needed,
tomaron.
the plane
Detrás
or
de
the
cada
car
uno
that
de estos momentos
brought you to where
cotidianos
you are. So
hay
behind
algo
each one of these
invisible,
moments, of these
pero
everyday
se hizo
moments,
posible con
there's
seguridad. La
something that made it
evaluación de la
possible, which
conformidad
is conformity
acreditada.
assessment. It made it possible
Y
with
detrás de esta
security. And
evaluación,
behind this
en los
evaluation,
laboratorios, en los
in
organismos de inspección y
laboratories,
certificación
in
de todo nuestro
bodies,
continente, hay
certification bodies, or
personas
validation
que
bodies, there
dedican
are
su
persons
vida
who
que
dedicate their
podamos
lives
confiar. Hoy
for
venimos a
us to be
contar
able
la
to trust in
historia
all
de
these services and
5 de
products. Today,
esas
we are going to tell the
personas,
story of five of
5
these
mujeres
persons, five women that are
extraordinarias.
extraordinary. And there we will talk about a topic that IAAC has worked on a great deal, so acknowledging the persons who are working, who are in the front line, who are in their leadership of their organizations, promoting conformity as accredited conformity assessment and acknowledged assessment. With the topic inspiring the future, trust, innovation, and women leaders, I would like to speak about each one of these three concepts because each one of them explained why we have this prize. Trust, the first word. First of all, trust is the most valuable currency in our sector. It's not decreed, it's not purchased, it's not improvised, it's built in through tests and audits, certificate by certificate during many years. When a consumer buys a safe food or a government makes a decision about the quality of water, when a product of our region goes through a border and it's accepted in international markets, what's operating there silently is trust. Trust that our community has built. And that trust, as you will see today, has a woman's every day more. The second word, innovation. We live in a time in which our sector is being transformed in a speed that we had never seen before. AI, remote inspections, digital platforms, sustainability certification, circular economy, zero carbon, and many others. Innovating in conformity assessment requires a delicate balance, changing everything that can be changed without compromising the technical rigor that defines us. The women that we that we know today are proof that that balance is possible. They have visualized processes, they have created laboratories, they have worked with AI in their organizations, they have done it, improving the quality standards, not lowering them. And third, the three words, the two words, female leaders. How many of the professionals who have been with us have been the only women in a meeting? How many have had to prove twice what others have only had to prove once? How many have had enormous responsibilities for in decision making and discovered a path where they discovered that they were capable, and not only that, but extraordinary. So this prize is exactly for that, for acknowledging women who, from the leadership of accredited conformity assessment body, have promoted trust, the technical competence, innovation in the Americas and the Caribbean. And so it's organized by the IAC with the support of PTB from Germany, the Metrology Institute from Germany, so that these technologies continue to be are not invisible anymore, so we can visibilize them. When we visibilize a female leader, we are opening a door. The girl that looks science from far today, or the young professional that has doubts on working on something. So all of these girls or women need to see that other women already did it. So inspiring is multiplying. That's the real purpose of this prize or award. While looking at the candidates from the whole continent, we found something beautiful. Even if their stories are very different, there's five features that all of them have. Five features that describe a female leader: vision, to see opportunities where others see obstacles; courage, to take the leap, even with fear; rigor, that that generates excellence, innovation for reinventing processes, services, and models, and generosity. Maybe the most powerful feature of all, because these women don't go up alone. They teach, they are mentors, they inspire, and they open the path for the ones that are coming behind them. So 5 features, 5 colors, 5 histories, 5 stories. Let me introduce our 5 finalists. The first one is Dalis Rovira from Panama. Dalis is the director and founder of the Laboratory for Physical Chemical Laboratory from the Chiriquí Autonomous University. Her story started in 1995 with a conviction that conformity assessment is a social change tool. And this laboratory was historical. It was the first laboratory from the public sector in Panama to be accredited on 17025 standard. And they didn't stop there. They have kept this accreditation uninterrupted for more than 15 years. It's an exercise of perseverance and technical rigor that anybody in this room knows how to value. And in 2017, the Agency for Environmental Protection, EPA, from the US selected the laboratory for 3 rigorous technical tests as a referral laboratory for used waters in Panama. But if something defines Dr. Rovira is that leadership goes beyond institutional achievements. That's why she created different projects and initiatives that will train or educate new scientists for water management and closing gender breaches in a historically masculinized sector. She says it with clarity. Women, we are leading projects that are transforming the region through the rigor of conformity assessment that is accredited. 3 decades planting science, trust, and the future. That's Dalis Rovira. Now we have the next finalist from Ecuador. We have Maria Gabriela Marmol. She is the head of Biro Veritas Ecuador and director for certification for Ecuador, Peru, Colombia, and Panama. And she sustains trust literally in 4 countries at the same time. And she works on 4 pillars: technical excellence, gender inclusiveness, and innovation that transforms, and sustainability. So she has been sustaining and maintaining accreditation on 17025, 17029, 17020, 21. And in the strategic level, she has promoted the digital platform, and she has created laboratories in Quito and Machala. And she has worked in the area of sustainability with the certifications Flor Verde and Flor Ecuador and Carbon Zero Ecuador. And innovation is her biggest passion. She has promoted programs for mentorship and implemented policies for gender equality because she is convinced that diversity, it's not a corporate goal, it's a need, it's a strategic need. Her philosophy is defined by one phrase: when women lead, organizations innovate better, they serve communities with a greater impact, and build more markets that are fair. The third finalist from Mexico. From Mexico City, we have Araceli González Morales, Director of Operations of Factual Services at the certification body and inspection body. Araceli represents something that we sometimes forget to celebrate: constant technical leadership, the one that strengthens everyday quality infrastructure in the country. During during her trajectory, she has maintained a commitment, a permanent commitment with development, promotion, and strengthening of conformity assessment, accredited conformity assessment in Mexico. And she has done this with a conviction, that it's not only technical work, promoting technical systems that we can trust, strengthens trust in products and services, and reduces risks and contributes to sustainable development of the country. If we say it in other words, behind every standard, there are persons that are protected and a country that makes progress. Araceli considers fundamental to include the feminine talent in the sector, generating incursion spaces for visibility and professional growth for women in a highly specialized environment. Her motivation to be here is, on her own words, is to share her experience for inspiring other professionals and strengthen the community because, as she says, leadership in conformity assessment not only have a technical impact, it has a social impact and economic impact. Our next candidate is from Colombia, Luisa Fernanda Toro. The story of our finalist, she's a general manager of survey meters from Colombia, starts with statements that many women in this room will acknowledge. Luisa reached sector at 23, beginning with a calibration laboratory from scratch with her newborn baby in her arms. And in 2007, when the general management position was vacant, she was asked if she wanted to take the challenge. And she said, I took it with fear, thinking that I wasn't capable of doing it. Today, that woman that would think that she wasn't capable, she has multiplied the operation 17.5 times, the operation of her organizations, and she's a multi-Latin American with presence in Colombia, Peru, Panama, Ecuador, and El Salvador. She led complex decisions during the pandemic for protecting her team and the sustainability of the company. She developed a center for remote inspections of electrical installations approved as an innovation project by the Ministry of Science in Colombia. She incorporated AI with assistance for her clients and predictive tools that strengthen traceability and trust. And she converted equality in one of the pillars of her leadership. Today, 36% of her team are women that are present in all levels of the organization, and with many of them in directing positions. Luisa leaves us one of the most beautiful definitions of our work that I've heard. Conformity assessment not only verifies, it enables. It doesn't only measure, it builds trust, and it not only complies with standards, it promotes development of our countries. Leading, she says, requires courage, purpose, and quality. Adds when there's female participation. And finally, our fifth finalist is Jessica Patel. She's a senior vice president of Assurance Americas, BSI. She's a leader at the continental scale. She leads 4 legal entities in the Americas with multinational teams and a complex portfolio of accredited services that work in very diverse environments. From 2024, she has proved something that defines the big leaders of our sector, that the technical integrity are not and trade are not opposed, they're allies. Under her direction, the organization has achieved solid financial performance, and while investing deliberately in the long term in people and governance and in resilience and operative resilience, the institutional strength above institutional strength is prioritized from profits. She worked on supervision of the competence of auditors and for a culture of transparency and continuous improvement. Her impact on women is measurable and sustainable. She led a redesign of the leadership structure that produced a significant amount of women in roles of real responsibilities, not only symbolic positions. So they are decision making with they are positions with the power of decision making. She also works on the structure for feminine talent, and she's a visible and authentic representative of women through BSI network. So in summary, a leadership that joins financial management, technical governance, and inclusion, strengthening trust and credibility of the whole organization. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, Delis, Gabriela, Araceli, Luisa, Jessica, 5 women, 5 countries, 5 stories, different stories, however, one same lesson. That trust that our markets have, our products and our regions is built with rigor, and that rigor has its own name. Innovation is not a threat for quality when it's led by persons with vision and courage. And when a woman leads, not only she gains, their organizations innovate better, their communities receive better services or services that they can trust. And also women that are behind her that discover that the path exists because somebody already went through that path. So to our 5 finalists, thank you for your excellency, for your courage, for your generosity. Each one of you has already earned something that no jury can give you, the power of inspiring. The accreditation bodies that presented these candidates to PTB and to the members of IAAC, I would like to thank them for making this award possible, because it's for visibilizing female leadership is in conformity assessment is key for innovation, and for each girl that sees science very far or that have their doubts about science, we want to say from here that in conformity assessment, there's a room for you, there's room for your leadership, for transformation, and for inspiring others, because the future of trust in the Americas already has a face, and it's a woman's face. Thank you very much to all of you, to the candidates. It's not only 5, there were many more. And all the countries that presented them and the bodies that presented them. Thank you very much. And I will give the floor to Veronica for the announcement of
Muchísimas gracias,
the
Andrea,
winner.
por esta
Thank you, Andrea, for
inspiradora y
this
necesaria.
inspiring
Lo
intervention and
cierto es que el
necessary
futuro de la
intervention.
calidad será más sólido cuando
The
la
future
excelencia
of quality
técnica
will be
camine
more solid
junto con
when
la
technical
inclusión,
excellency
el
will
liderazgo y
work
la
together with
cooperación.
inclusion,
Y
leadership, and
llegamos a uno de los
cooperation.
momentos más
So we
significativos de
are
este
reaching
evento,
one of the most
el anuncio,
significant
como
moments of
ya
this
lo
event.
hizo
So the
Andrea, de las
announcement of
semifinalistas y la ganadora del premio a la mujer líder de la
Andrea of the
evaluación de la
finalists,
conformidad
and
acreditada en
the
América. Y
winner of
para esto
the
pedimos a
award
todas
is, and for this we
a
will
quienes
ask
fueron nombradas,
all the
quienes son las
persons who
finalistas, que
were
enciendan sus
appointed, who
cámaras
were as
para que
finalists,
puedan
to
todos
turn
los
on their
participantes de
cameras
este
so
evento
that all participants
conocerlas
in this
y
event can
darles
get
un
to know
aplauso
you
virtual.
and give
Así que
you a
por
virtual
favor
round of
enciendan sus
applause. So
cámaras
please turn on your cameras, the finalists.
si es que están
If
conectadas.
you are in the meeting,
Felicitaciones por ese trabajo
congratulations
y
for
todo lo
the
que
work that has
detalló
been done,
Andrea
and
es
everything that Andrea
interesante
said is
y
very
obviamente
interesting,
de aplaudir, como lo
and
están haciendo en
we
este
should
momento
applaud
nuestros
it, such as
participantes.
our participants are doing it virtually.
Este premio celebra
This
trayectorias
prize
que inspiran,
celebrates
abren
trajectories that
oportunidades y
inspire,
demuestran que la
open
competencia técnica
opportunities,
también tiene
and show
rostro
that
de
technical
liderazgo,
competence
compromiso y
have
transformación.
uh, include leadership with commitment and transformation. And for this acknowledgement, I will invite Mirta Leiva, Chair of the Subcommittee for Promotion of IAAC, and she is a representative of the National Accreditation Body of Paraguay, and she will be here with us for announcing the winner of the awards. The floor is yours, Mirta. Thank you, Veronica. Hello, everybody in all your locations. This is an exciting moment for our cooperation. We will announce the winner of the first edition of the IAAC Award for the Woman Leader in Accredited Conformity Assessment, Leadership that Transforms the Continent. We know the 5 finalists that were mentioned by the IAAC Chair, Andrea Melo, Dr. Gladys Rovira from Panama, Gabriela Mármol from Ecuador, Araceli González from Mexico, Luisa Fernanda Toro from Colombia, and Jessica Patel from the United States. Congratulations to all of you. And before announcing our winner and creating a little bit more suspense, I would like to mention some relevant points that were taken into consideration for awarding this prize. It was launched officially on the 19th March in the event about the Women's World Day, and the appointments were announced from the 19th March, and the evaluation of the proposal was done from the 28th May to the 10th June 2026, and it was a very difficult task for the jury.
And the official announcement, which will be on the date of this very important day where we are celebrating the World Accreditation Day today, June 11th. And then also this year, we will celebrate the 30th anniversary of our cooperation. So the delivery of the award ceremony will happen at the IAAC General Assembly in Lima, Peru on September 18. So for this first edition of the award, we have the proposals of 10 countries: Peru, Colombia, the United States, Paraguay, Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico, the Dominican Republic, Ecuador, and Brazil. In total, 22 candidates from 10 different countries. And all of this was possible because of the accreditation bodies, members of IAAC, for the proposals for this initiative. And the candidates were from INACAL from Peru, ONAC, Colombia, ANAB from the United States, ONA, Paraguay, CNA, Panama, ECA, Costa Rica, EMA, Mexico, SAE, Ecuador, ODAC from the Dominican Republic, and CRC from Brazil. Thank you very much for these accreditation bodies. And as I said before, a total of 22 nominations for this award. And who were members from this jury who had the very difficult task of selecting the finalists and the winner? Well, we had brilliant women for this award, and therefore it was very difficult. We have here the jury panel. We have Andrea Melo, our chair, from Brazil, Warren Merkel, the vice chair of IAAC from the United States, Carlos Echeverría, the chair of the management committee of Ecuador, Israel Teixeira, chair of the stakeholders committee, and from Brazil, Mirta Leiva, the chair of the promotions committee from Paraguay, Cori Eguino, the representative of associate members, Copan from Bolivia, and then Tim Gosselin, the representative of the PTB from Germany. They were part of the jury panel who will give the verdict today. Thank you very much to you all for the task undertaken. So what were the criteria points that we had for this election? Leadership and CAB management, trust and technical competence, innovation and continuous improvement, ethics and innovation and continuous improvement, then initiatives supporting women. All of these criteria points were evaluated according to the documents and evidence provided by each one of the proposals by the accreditation bodies that were sent. So, what else can we say to these brilliant women? On behalf of IAAC, we would like to express our profound gratefulness for all of the fantastic women who were nominated for this award. IAAC will issue a certificate of recognition for each one of them. The certificates will be sent from the IAAC Secretariat Office. Thank you very much to you all. Through the documents that we received, we were able to observe how important the work that you're doing before your accreditation body. So as any other, we can only have one winner. So now we will say what our winner will receive. We are getting closer to that great moment. I imagine the momentum is building. However, before we announce the winner, we would like to mention the prizes the winner will have, and also a very special recognition to the PTB, the Meteorological Institute of Germany, that supported us to have this award. So the prizes will be as follows: a fully paid trip to Lima, Peru, so they can be part of the General Assembly of IAAC from September 14 to the 18th of this year. Also, the opportunity of participating at the Stakeholders Committee meeting, the subcommittees, and to be part of the Business Assembly and the General Assembly, as I said, thanks to the sponsorship of the PTB, the free membership for 1 year as part of as an IAAC stakeholder membership, and then the space, the recognition of the IAAC that will be provided during the General Assembly in Lima, Peru, and then a space for presentation, a presentation slot at the General Assembly. They will have an allocated slot to present their project to the international community, and so they can become a source of inspiration for other women. All of these prizes will be for our winner. And the moment is here. We would like to invite our chair so she can share this moment with us. And we have the honor of announcing our winner. Right now, we would like to ask the support from the Secretariat Office, since we will present a short video where we will announce the winner of this edition of the Women Leader Assessment of Conformity. So thank you very much to you all. Thank you to the finalists, great professionals and human beings. But as I said before, we can only have one winner. And to the count of 1, 2, and 3, the Secretariat Office, please.
La amante ganadora de la primera
This is our winner of the first Accredited Conformity Assessment Leader Award in the Americas. It is such an honor for us on behalf of IAAC to announce you as the winner. And now, before I give the floor to the chair again, I would like to read something from our winner. Today, we recognize a professional whose professional path showcases the impact of technical leadership and innovation and commitment, what it can have in strengthening conformity assessment in accreditation. So with more than 20 years of experience, Lina Araceli González Morales from Mexico has been consolidated as a great leader in a conformity assessment in accreditation. As the Director of Operation of Graduate Services, SCC, she has promoted the strengthening of technical competence, quality of services, and the trust in conformity assessment processes by contributing to the development of a quality infrastructure that is solid and trustworthy. Beyond her technical achievements, as Araceli has been distinguished for her commitment in the promotion of equal opportunities and women empowerment. She is convinced that women in leadership roles has to have a visible and active role in all of the professional spaces. She has promoted concrete actions to strengthen an organizational structure with more equality. Congratulations, our greatest congratulations. We have our lady chair with us. If she wants to give any words right now, you're welcome to do so. Thank you very much, Mirta. Congratulations, Araceli. We'll be waiting for you in Lima for our General Assembly. Thank you very much. And I would like to give the floor to Veronica so she can give us the final remarks. Thank you. We would like to congratulate the finalists and the winner of this award. Her example strengthens the whole conformity assessment community in the Americas. We are getting close to the closing of this activity, and well, we are going to do so with Andrea Melo, the lady chair of our cooperation. So you can give the final remarks for the event of the World Accreditation Day that has had very exciting lines, and we are closing this way. Please, Andrea. Thank you very much, Veronica. And so at the end of this very successful event, for the first time with IAAC, we had more than 500 participants in the World Accreditation Day event. This proves our commitment as a region on regards of safety, trustworthy, traceability, innovation, and technical competence that we are trying to foster this year specifically. We would like to thank the participation of our special guests, all of the speakers and panelists, the Secretariat Office, the Promotion Subcommittee, the Vice Chair, Warren Merkel, and all of the members of IAAC who made this moment possible. Thank you very much to all of the participants today who are with us right now. We'll see you in Lima, Peru, and see you next World Accreditation Day. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you, Andrea, very much. And as we said, we would like to thank all of the speakers and panelists who participated today, all of the representatives of accreditation bodies, all of the participants of the conformity assessment bodies that are joining our events more and more, who are also part of this whole quality infrastructure at a global level, and then other participants who were with us in this summit that was organized by IAAC. In your screen, as you can see, as always, we have a QR with a short survey because we work for you. And your comments and proposals are valuable so that we can improve and according to your requirements. Thank you very much for being with us to celebrate the World Accreditation Day. Let's build from accreditation to a more trustworthy region. So, and also a happy anniversary to IAAC for the 30 years in this path. Have a great day and have a great weekend as well. Thank you very much.